All right, welcome to another town hall. I will go ahead and share my screen. As a quick note, I'm trying something a little bit different here. Whether or not you have them enabled, you may see captions coming up as people talk. If not, you can turn it on from your toolbar. I enabled that because I realized that not only does that provide live captioning on screen, which we don't need, of course, but if you go in the toolbar under that captioning menu, there's an option to show full transcript. And we actually then have a full transcript of the entire meeting and who said what when. And I figured that might be handy. So I'm going to test it out here. And I don't know, maybe get in the
And
habit
that's built into Zoom now?
That's built into Zoom. I sure hope they do what Microsoft did and pull in ChatGPT, because then you can actually have it summarize your meetings and your action items and stuff for you. I think that was really a good idea, but they haven't done that yet. So far, it's just straight captioning. But yes, that's part of Zoom.
I've been playing with Sembly.ai, SEMBLY.ai, which does attempt to do all of that stuff. It's not quite smart enough to do it well, which seems to be the general pattern, but it's a miracle that it does it at all.
Yeah, I suspect that they'll have a ChatGPT integration before too long. They would have to compete with, because Teams has already done it. So we will see. But for now, trying out the captions. So let's get into it. I want to move quickly through our opening items just because I want to leave as much time as possible for, quite frankly, Adam and I have a lot to talk about. We've been very busy beavers and need to bring everyone up to speed and engage help for next steps. So I want to leave most of the time for that. Action items, any updates on a fiscal sponsorship agreement, John?
It exists, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you talk. We'll come back to that another time. No rush, obviously. And the next one is mine, and I haven't gotten to that either. As I said, Adam and I have had a lot going on, so that's going to wait. So let's move right into, let's see, I don't have any presentations to talk about. Metrics don't really have anything of note, so I'll just pop these up on screen here. Pretty similar to what we usually see. We still have a good balance in the e-NABLE fund, which hopefully we can put to good use. Let's see, we have one post of interest on the hub. I already popped in and looked at this, and it looks like it's already been well addressed with a whole bunch of discussion and comments. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Dare or Dare is a partial hand amputee with very short remaining pinky, ring, and middle fingers on the left hand. Curious about naked prosthetics PIP driver. I don't know what that is, but prosthetists.
It's awesome.
Is it? Okay. Prosthetists don't think they would work for me. I think I've seen some similar devices printed. Is there anyone willing to try and print some for me as a test? So he has some particular design in mind, and he's wondering if one of our volunteers can kind of duplicate that with 3D printing. There's been a lot of offers for help. Rick jumped in here. Adam has offered some information as well. And I'll have you talk about this in a moment. Let's see if there's anything else here. A lot of discussion between Rick and him, basically suggesting that you reach out to chapters in his area, which they followed up on. Rick said he can help connect him with a chapter. So yeah, anything to add, Adam?
No, honestly, I was more excited about the design that Dare, and again, I'm not sure how his name is pronounced, but yeah. that this gentleman shared. So the company is a for-profit. They have designed something specifically for individuals who just have that proximal interphalangeal joint remaining, hence the PIP. But it's really interesting. It looks awesome. I don't know how functional it actually is, and I wasn't able to find any information about its functionality. But it just looks really cool, and I think is since cosmetics is really the number one determining factor in terms of wear compliance among upper extremity amputees. I think finding something that just looks really great nice. Like that is a big step.
I thought it's not too different from the Nick finger. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
We should pull that up. I just want to see real quick if there's others since then. Here's the Nick finger, which is fully 3D printable and just kind of fits on the stump, and then it has it ties up to, I don't know if we can see that goes back to a kind of a wristband that allows you to get the movement. But I mean, it's not as nice, no, but that might be a suitable alternative.
Yeah, the designs that I was seeing on the site kind of had like in a softer way, sort of a Freddy Krueger vibe.
Sure.
Yeah, it looked really interesting.
That looks like it's made in carbon fiber too, which of course is not something our volunteers would be able to do, but gives it a really nice look and great strength, of course.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it looks like he has already been well engaged and is hopefully going to be connected with a chapter in his area. So I think we'll leave it. He's in good hands. Okay, so on we go. I don't have the schedule of events for March yet, so we'll have that information maybe next time. But does anyone know what our next?
It's updated on the hub calendar. I don't. I have not published.
Yeah, all I'm seeing is the town halls.
That's interesting. On my calendar, all of the events are.
Did you by chance set them up as, you know, your events that are not public, so they're only showing on your calendar?
I haven't done anything different that I haven't done for other months. I can check.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing them for some reason. I just refreshed, so we'll have to check into that.
Okay.
In any case, what's the next one?
It starts with the chapter leaders meeting on the 13th, and then the combined education and new members meeting is on the 17th, and bionic design is on the 24th this month.
Adam, are you still doing a healthcare meetup?
No, we discussed that a couple of months back.
Sorry,
no, you're good. I've dropped that for the time being, just because I was getting a little overwhelmed with various projects.
Certainly understand. Good choice. Good choice.
But,
we don't want you to be burned out.
On that subject, I did hear back from Tainara today. I had been emailing her, I think, at the wrong email address. So I messaged her in the hub, and she responded pretty quickly. So I'm hopeful that because she had I really don't recognize this as being live streamed, and I don't want to commit her to something she's not prepared to commit to, but she had indicated that she was interested in helping to spearhead that. So in 2023, I'd really like to see how that can come together again. I just don't know how much like direct involvement I can have with some of the other things that I'm trying to get done. I will also say, I'm sure this will be an action item and later in today's discussion, but regarding incorporation of like the various assistive technology programs and the CARF accredited centers that we may be able to start looping into the fold. I think that will be a big driving force to actually having members of our community who are healthcare providers, and that would come about a little bit more organically at that point.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move on then.
I also just for the calendar, how would I be able to tell if it's private? Because what I'm seeing are the same recurring meetings that I've been editing.
When you open up the actual item like this from the calendar and you click this drop down up here, you look for this where it says change to public. I don't actually know why I guess the town hall meetings weren't public, which means but still you should see it if it's that only means whether or not you have to be logged into the hub. So that actually wouldn't cause it not to show up because I'm logged in.
Okay, yeah, no, my options are saying change to private. So I don't know why it's not.
All right, so we might have to follow up with MASV on this, because that could be maybe one of the remnants of the recent update that we did. Maybe there's a bug that we have to look into. So let's follow up with MASV by email and let them know. You can send a screen if you want to send a screenshot maybe of what you're seeing on the monthly calendar, and I can do the same. He can see the difference then.
The last thing for the newsletter, we had No, I don't think it's the wrong calendar. But just responding to the comment.
Well, hold on, maybe that's here. For some reason, this my events checkbox was checked. That's why I wasn't seeing them. Here we go.
Okay.
I've never checked that intentionally. I must either that got turned on by default somehow, or I clicked it by accident. So that was my fault. So now we see, okay, chapter leader roundtable on Monday, the 13th, and then the combined education new members meet up on the 17th, Bionics on the 24th. So I'm seeing them all now. So if anyone's not seeing events on the calendar, make sure that my events filter isn't checked. I don't know how that happened.
And one more thing just about before publishing, I had mentioned the possibility of sharing an earlier post that one of the hub members had an initiative going and to publicize that, but he had questions about how to better organize shipments and what shipments costs would be. I told him that I would follow up with you, and I think he wanted to wait to make it more public until those questions could be answered.
What questions are those?
Hold on.
I mean, are you saying you want to arrange a meeting with this person, or
I had invited him to come to a town hall. I don't think he can make it.
It's fine.
But I'm
you can
just,
if you want to just tell him to email us support@enable.org. That way it'll go to our help desk, and Rick and I can work with him from there.
Okay, great. But then back to the I will tell him to email you, or I will forward his questions to both of you and copy him. But back to the calendar and the newsletter, are there any announcements that anyone wants me to make, or
I would like to include an announcement about the new partnership with Illinois Assistive Technology Program that I posted about in the hub, and that may, I would say, hold off until we have our discussion today, because Adam has a lot to share. There are other partnerships that I'm not fully up to speed on, and so there might be multiple things to announce in there. So I would say let's go ahead and have today's discussion, and then at the end of the meeting, let's maybe revisit that question of what to include in the newsletter.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into that because, like I said, I want to leave as much time for this as possible. Adam has been very busy having lots of meetings, making lots of connections. So why don't I just turn it over to you, Adam, and do your best to sum it all up for us.
Sure.
And I'm gonna, Sarah, I'm going to try to help to take notes here as well. Don't let me get in your way. Please continue to take notes, but I'll be doing it as well. I hope that doesn't mess you up, but I might have some things to add here. So Adam, over to you.
Yeah, did you want me to cover any particular avenue here first, or do you want me to just kind of run through a laundry list of what I've been?
I would just run through the laundry list. I think we want to get everyone here up to speed on all the discussions that you've had, and hopefully then get to how they all fit together and where we're headed and what we're trying to do here, and kind of bring it to the big picture.
Let me start with the most recent one first. So I had another call with Kabul this morning at 5 p.m. their time, which is very early my time, and I think we have all of our ducks in a row there. We've got a shipping pathway through Jalani Hospital in Pakistan. I've got the contact information of the gentleman there. I think the phase plan that we'd like to approach, and I think that this is something that needs to be discussed. I don't want to. This has been fomenting for so long. Well, fomenting is the wrong word. Fermenting. There we go. For so long, I don't want this to get delayed too much longer. I'd like to just push and trial something. But we'd like to have a phased approach, which I mentioned briefly last week, of possibly sending out some of the test hands that we have in storage. They don't necessarily have to be ready to go. I just need something that's going to be the same size and weight has a typical hand to test this shipping pathway. I was hoping we could send 2 or 3.
So is that the main thing you're trying to accomplish here, is to test just the shipping? Just does it get there? Does it get there in good shape? Is that you don't really care about the devices themselves so much?
The second bird of that would be having a device that could be used as a teaching tool once it arrives there.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that it would be something that would be given to patients to use on their own, but they could use it as a practice fitting. They could see how close it is. So if we get a few different sizes, like pediatric and adult, so that they could just see how they work, maybe a couple of different models, that would be amazing.
So I think what we need to do there, Adam, is we need to, either you or I should reach out to Brent Hollers, who is no longer at that school in Atlanta,
right.
but he would be able to point us to the right person who still has access to that inventory. Great. My guess is that they have some that maybe already were checked sort of for quality. Maybe all of them haven't been, but they probably have some that, look good, at least better than others. So if you're only trying to get a few, my guess is they can pull a few that are pretty good quality for you.
That would be amazing. So that sounds like a great next step. I'd like to get something shipped out within the next week or 2, just so we can kind of get the ball rolling. They've been very patient. And we've had to pump the brakes a few times over the past few months since this started. And it looks like we finally have this pathway set.
So I think
we're really excited.
I think you've met Brent. Do you feel comfortable just emailing him yourself?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
yeah, I'll get on that after this call.
For you then.
Yep, that sounds great. So I'll reach out to Brent and we'll try to get this moving. Again, this does not have to be like a patient ready thing. This is primarily going to be purpose 1, making sure that it arrives safely and reliably, and purpose 2, being used potentially as like a teaching tool and fitting aid. So yeah,
great.
Okay. And I know we talked. I think we landed on PET-G being the best filament type. I don't think it.
Ideally, it is. Now that's worth pointing out that a lot of the hands that they received there are probably PLA. I would try to avoid those if you can. So when you talk to Brent, my guess is that they at least have that labeled on most of them. I know they didn't do a detailed inventory, but they probably know what material they're made of. So if they can grab some that are PET-G for you, that would be great. And those are more likely to be in sort of the sort of mid to darker skin tone colors too, which is appropriate.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to be rough and tumble ready.
Right.
But I think moving forward, assuming we can get the clarion call out and get members of our community engaged in this and printing for to specification, then we'll make sure to include that in the list of requirements.
Great.
But yeah, I'm just so stoked. Anyway, that's thing number 1.
Just so you know, also, Adam, I did paste in the notes that you sent earlier in the week here. I don't know if that helps you in what you're about to go through, but I have these up on the screen.
Great. Scout Mary. Yeah. So let's go into the state assistive technology programs. So before getting into Scout, who is like the most pleasant person I've ever talked to. So Jeremy set up a call. Was that just last week, Jeremy, that we talked to IATP?
It was.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
It's been a long week.
So it unfolded very quickly. They got very excited about it and all ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. So Jeremy and I met with the leadership of the Illinois Assistive Technology Program right after last week's town hall. We talked to their leadership, including I believe they have a CODA, a certified occupational therapy assistant on staff there who manages the prints. But generally, for just a quick overview of what IATP is, it is Illinois' assistive technology arm. So back in the 80s and every few years since then, the U.S. federal government has included provisions to provide for assistive technology assistance to individuals with disability and mobility restriction. That statute gets kind of trickled down into various state amendments, and all of these different organizations exist at the state level in every U.S. state and many U.S. territories, including DC and some others. No, not that DC is a territory, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so what this has turned into is, number one, with the Illinois program specifically, a partnership to supply, give some opportunities to our makers to provide some simple adaptive technology, which Jeremy is sharing on the screen here, to help shore up their inventory, because they themselves can't directly print and provide for individuals. So I'm not exactly clear on the stipulations of their funding from the Illinois state, but basically they facilitate, they assess, they can pass these on, but they are currently relying upon a partnership with a business school in the state of Illinois, and an attached maker space to print these at cost. So right now, people who want these devices need to purchase them. They're not crazy expensive, but they're not free. So what we thought we'd do is leverage this community to try to build up an inventory for them, so that they have more of these on hand to deliver to people who require them, without having to bear the financial burden. Because even $5, $10, $15 can be a lot for people who who would need these devices potentially. What that is moving toward, though, is not just a partnership with IATD, but also with every state adaptive technology program across the US. So to kind of get the ball rolling there, I reached out to the Missouri ATP, and the head of that department is a gentleman named Scout Berry. He and I had a nice long chat. They are actually acquiring their very first 3D printer this week. They have no experience with 3D printing, but are excited to start trying. I invited Scout to join our community, which I believe he has. And he's hoping that we can have a real symbiotic relationship here, wherein we can, our makers can provide a lot of insights and impart some wisdom about how to get a printing space started. And what he can do is he's providing me with contacts across the US to try to build up relationships with assistive technology programs in every state and territory. What I would like to see, and I created this space, thank you, Jeremy. What I'd really like to see is e-NABLE chapters in each state being designated as a liaison to their respective states' assistive technology program. They would be the primary points of contact, and they would kind of manage relationship there so that we can share information about new assistive technology designs, try to provide prints as they're able, even organize events and try to just have more of a presence and an interface to give people in the e-NABLE community more to do, frankly. And honestly, as I see it, provide a much lower bar for entry.
If you don't mind a quick interruption.
Yeah, go for it.
Adam, sorry, if you don't mind a quick interruption, I want to add to what you said, that the assistive technology. Sorry, we have lag here. I'm talking over you. The Assistive Technology Act that you entirely reporting and making possible. There is a similar program in all 50 states, leveraging.
Jeremy, I think you fell in a time vortex.
Right, Jeremy, we're not getting you. I suggest, Jeremy, that you dial in for voice, because the video is okay, but you're gone.
He might have dropped and oh no, well, he's the host, he might not be able to drop.
Right.
Well, hopefully he'll be able to rejoin via phone. Oh, hey, Jeremy.
Hang on, okay, it looks like the live stream might still have picked up again. Okay. All right, we should be okay. Sorry about that. I knew my internet was having issues today. Anyway, what I was saying is that this kind of program is active in all 50 states. So it's a really good opportunity to expand on this exact same kind of partnership. And I'm excited about the fact that it opens the door for people to print all kinds of other interesting things that are in some ways a lot, easier to get started with than a prosthetic, which can be a little
exactly. Yep, that was my thought too. So I think that's a really exciting chance, kind of to bolster that. And I don't know if this spins off into different directions. I've also reached out to Makers Making Change, which is a nonprofit with a really similar focus to e-NABLE's. But beyond, rather than focusing on prosthetic devices, they're really into like adaptive technology, switches, trying to find sort of task-specific solutions.
I'm sorry, but I have to make one more interruption, because I actually wrote up a blog article for my blog about what we're doing here. And as part of writing that up, I discovered something very cool, because a lot of our customers are in the classroom, they're educators. And I found that the Makers Making Change and Print Lab, a company that does online curriculum, have launched a free academy for assistive devices.
Whoa.
So you can hop over here to the Assistive Device Academy and register free of charge for a full STEM-oriented curriculum on assistive technology. Yeah, I was so excited.
We should do that for hands. That's so cool.
Well, I do have one, actually. My partners over at, I don't want to turn this into a plug or anything, but I'm going to hop onto my site for a second, because I have partners at BitSpace, and they have already done a couple of courses focused on this one here, 3D printing prosthetics to teach engineering, anatomy, and empathy, and prototyping with purpose, design challenges with e-NABLE. Those are not available entirely free of charge, but they're pretty affordable when it comes to curriculum materials. And those are ready to use curriculums as well. But there are other free curriculum materials. So we probably want to think about updating some of our educational resources on the hub. It's been a long time since we've done that. But I don't want to take us off.
Great.
I just wanted to mention that, Adam.
No, that's wonderful. No, thanks. That'll be really good to a link in the space that was made. Let's see. So go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Jeremy, can you put a link to that blog post in the chat? I would like to.
Sure.
And I will say, Jeremy, you've been so conscientious about not plugging your business, but I think those are really important resources that you should make available to the community.
Fair enough. Well, then, as long as I'm at it, let me plug one more thing, because I just made this update the other day. If you, for those familiar with our site, we're at shop3duniverse.com. And if you go under our filament menu now, you'll see that I've added a separate collection for skin tone PETG materials, so that I've separated out just the skin tone colors. And so those are all, it's instead of the 28 colors that we offer in PETG, only the skin tone colors are here, making it just a little bit easier to find what you need.
That's great.
You can bounce over to the full collection. So just wanted to point that out too.
Well done. That's wonderful.
So we were talking about state programs.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be speaking at the assistive technology program. I believe they call it AT3 or A3. Anyway, they have their national meeting every month of their leadership team. I'll be speaking at that in March to talk about generally what we're doing there and where we can potentially form partnerships to try to establish some points of connection. I will hopefully be hearing back from Makers Making Change. If the avenue I attempted doesn't work, we've got a couple of others I can go through. But from there, that kind of dovetails into my efforts to reach out to Ability KC. This is the first CARF accredited center where I'm attempting to establish a kind of test kitchen where we can do some more focused rehab engineering tasks, partnering makers in our community with OTs and PTs to try to, and also speech therapists. I mean, speech therapists work primarily in the world of like communication devices, so AACs, adaptive something communication devices. My wife is a speech pathologist. She would be glaring at me right now as much as she has talked about that kind of stuff. But I think there's a lot of interesting work that could be done there that's really outside the realm of the norm here, but could still really be interested to folks in our community. I'm hoping that we can kind of work out some kinks and then start to develop more of a program that could be replicated across CARF accredited, that's accredited rehab facilities across the country. Places like Craig in Colorado, Rusk in Missouri. You've got like Shirley Ryan in Chicago. Just places where there are really intensive needs, where these kinds of like bespoke solutions could really be useful to folks.
Adam, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but do you mind if I add one thing to provide a little bit of context to
No, not at all.
we're going through here? So this is something that we talked about in a meeting actually just, was it yesterday, with Utkarsh from Helping Hands?
Yep.
And as I was just kind of, as happens, as you're describing things, sometimes you kind of come to a new way of sort of understanding it. And the way I put it to him was, I see a lot of the efforts that we have going on right now as being very much connected and interdependent. And part of the vision that I think that's developing here is, we're in the process of redeveloping our device catalog and bringing that into the NIH 3D print exchange. And they are, of course, for those that don't know this, they're in the process of designing their new site. And here, let me hop over to that. So this isn't ready yet, but they're in the process of redesigning this, and e-NABLE has a dedicated section in here. Where is it? There we go, e-NABLE. And Nush, I believe, is still in the process of setting this up. And I'm hoping that we're going to bring categorization here so that it's not just going to be prosthetic devices, but all kinds of other assistive devices, like what we're seeing through, the IATP program and other programs that Adam is connecting with. And so I'm hoping that we can use this NIH repository to start to bring all these together. Each one of these state programs probably has a similar collection of devices that they've found and that they've been using, but they're all open source, or at least mostly. And so we would encourage them to let us bring those into that same repository. They can still be where they are, but we can, bring a copy into there and have this growing repository of all different kinds of assistive tech that anyone can use. And tied in with that, we talked about the new matching platform and expanding that so that people, instead of just requesting hands and arms, you can request all these other kinds of assistive tech. And so all of these different efforts of getting the new website updated and launched with the new matching platform, getting the new repository established, and all these partnerships that Adam is working on establishing, all of that kind of comes together, hopefully later this year, and puts us on, I think, much more solid ground.
That's and Jeremy, to another point that we've been discussing recently, getting the project management point in line with Trello.
Trello, of course, that's another piece of it.
Yeah, that'll really facilitate getting all of that done on, an actual timeline.
So these are the ones that we just talked about: deploying the new matching platform, the new primary website, which we'd be a part of that, and then developing new device catalog on the NIH 3D print exchange. So all of those are kind of tied in with the partnerships that Adam is forming, because I think they're interdependent, right? We need the right infrastructure to be able to be successful with these partnerships, but we also need the influx that comes from these partnerships and those new designs and the new connections. So yeah, they go very nicely together.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. It feels like a lot of things are kind of lining up at the same time. So
John, you got your hand up.
Interesting.
Yeah, besides just saying that it is fantastic, I want to point out that these initiatives, in order to come together and stay together the right way, I think if this vision happens, we're going to need not necessarily a mature, but a very competent onboard curator and tech person, because, helping to curate and maintain this is a challenge, and there's going to be a lot of connection and back and forth going. And
absolutely. Are you talking specifically for the device catalog, or are you talking more broadly?
Oh, I'm thinking about the device catalog and the making sure that the moving devices from copying devices from state catalogs to the NIH thing, and making sure that the most current design is represented in all of the right places, as well as up to 50 other organizations. There's a whole thing.
I think you've used the metaphor of a garden before, John. We need gardeners to tend to these different areas. You're right.
But I think we may, and we may be able to get gardeners. I think we need a groundskeeper. We need one person who keeps track of the gardeners, the gardens, and act as an agent for you and Adam, who are doing a great job here, but I want to make sure that what we make
No, you're
stay
right. You're right.
healthy.
Because that's the kind of thing that I have been doing in years past. And that's where I've kind of run out of time. I have time to help with some coordination and to help kind of get things in the right direction, but I don't have time for what you're talking about like I used to. So you're right. We need a really kind of a diversely skilled tech person that has pretty consistent time available, which is the trick always. But you're right. We need to be looking for that.
So as you're having these conversations with the state agencies and the federal and the feds who fund these state agencies, that
Mhm.
could be a fundable position, because that grant would also support connecting to the volunteer network that we've spent 10 years building up. I could see this as something funded by the feds for a full-time professional who,
Possibly.
however,
The trick there gets into scope, John, at least based on the discussions we've had so far. The states are very cautious about making sure that all of their funding is being used only to support their efforts within the state. And so I think if we talk to them about doing something with us like that, then they start thinking like, well, now we're supporting a global community, and that's a little bit outside of the bounds of what our funding is supposed to be used for.
I think it's also a little tricky when we consider that we don't exist as an organization, as a legal entity.
That too, yeah, makes it harder.
Well,
But-
keep it in mind. We need
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
There are definitely ways that they can support each other for sure.
Right.
And I regardless, I completely agree that we need that role. However, whether it gets funded or not, we definitely need to be looking for somebody that can help us to tend these online resources and keep them current, and fix broken links from time to time and all that stuff that goes into tending them. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. You want to cover more of this, Adam?
Oh God, what else is there?
Well, did you talk about the conference that you're attending?
No, I haven't yet. Okay, so yeah, I posted the thing on Lumio. We talked about this briefly last town hall. I'm really going to try to blast through. I don't want to eat up all the time today. But
it's okay, Adam. Take whatever time. No, don't rush.
Okay. I agree with the comments that there are a couple of folks kind of pumped the brakes on the idea of dropping a few thousand on a booth. I think that we really need to consider, if we are venturing out, making new partnerships, increasing our visibility, and trying to widen our impact. I think we really need to consider having more of a presence at conferences, at events, creating white papers, doing poster presentations.
Adam, I just want to put in there that I don't think it would have been any problem to get that approved. It was just not enough time. I didn't even bother jumping in to comment. Had there been enough time, I would have jumped in with some comments and done my best to convince people of why we should support it.
I wish I had
the other
known
thing,
that
Adam, is
Kansas City.
I just want to remind you also that we in this committee have discretionary authority up to $1,000. So this one would have been over that limit. But my guess is there are plenty of events that come up that we could fund just with a discussion in this group if it's up to $1,000.
Okay, well, cool. Well, that's good, and I think John mentioned that as well. So that's good to know moving forward.
Yeah.
But for now, I was actually able to convince my employer. It
That's
is very
awesome.
true. That at least my attendance here. So I will be representing Mediquant at this event and trying to make contacts, getting some. I don't need to tell you what I'm doing for Mediquant there, but it's pretty darn relevant to some of the things I've been trying to accomplish there. But on the side, I'm going to be passing out some e-NABLE business cards as well.
Of course, which I was just going to ask about. Adam, we should definitely make sure that you have e-NABLE business cards. Did you get some done? Should we get some for you?
I haven't yet. This is in
what, I mean, that's the kind of thing that's a no-brainer for us to fund for you, and we could approve that right here. I mean, should we just take a vote right now on up to $100 to cover the cost of business cards for Adam? Everyone, is that? I certainly vote yes on that. I can't see the rest of you, but anyone opposed?
Does anyone else? I mean, like Sarah, would Sarah make use of something like that as long as we're talking about this?
I think we should start with just for you, because I think you're the one that's actually doing all the outreach in person that would be in a position to have cards, unless tell me if I'm wrong, but do you agree, Sarah?
Yeah.
I think actually we should I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we should authorize, let's say, up to $300 or $500 for Adam's discretionary use, including the business cards and any other materials he wants to have printed
That's
to
a good
have in his
point.
back pocket.
That's a good point. And we do have other printable e-NABLE materials. They might need a little updating, but I can work with you on that, Adam. So I think that's a good
Okay.
idea. So let's vote on that as a up to $500 discretionary approval for Adam for outreach related efforts, things for the conference, et cetera. I'm certainly in favor of that. I know John is because he put it forward. Sarah? Yep. Okay. Adam, you're okay with this?
No, I'm against it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's fine.
Of course. So that's approved. I should make a note of that down here. Up to.
And Adam, the simplest and most transparent mechanism, if it's okay with you, is to go ahead and buy these, spend your own money on that, and then just
Yeah, sure.
submit the receipt to Open Collective.
Yep,
And
that sounds good.
Exactly
they'll all
right.
get processed.
That's exactly right. So yeah, you're clear for submitting up to $500 in receipts, Adam, and you can use that as at your discretion. Let me know if you want me to help you with a quick design on a business card. You know, I can give you our official graphics and all that, or just put them together for you. It's
yeah, that would be great. I might want a QR code or something to slap on the back to link to e-NABLE. So
okay, so let me put an action item for that. Jeremy, help Adam.
When is the event, Adam?
It is April 20th through the 23rd.
Okay, so you do have time also to print or ask to be printed a bunch of trinkets.
Yeah,
the little
sure.
heart logo is cute and nice, and people give them to their kids and so on. So having a bag full of them would be good.
Yeah, or like maybe like, I don't know, fidget spinners or like some simple things with that are e-NABLE branded would be kind of neat.
Right.
This is what we have available right now. We've got different designs of e-NABLE t-shirts in different colors. And we've got the e-NABLE mugs in a number of different designs.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, unless I'm carrying around a Santa Claus pack, that's going to be tough to carry. I was thinking more like things I can keep in my pocket.
No, we can add things to this. I'm using Printful, the Printful service for this, so I can easily go in and add other designs and get something that you need. So I can help you with that. So I've got an action item to follow up with you on that.
That sounds great. I feel like there was something else.
You talked about makers making change. Oh, let's talk about the call to action, maybe, Adam.
Oh, right. Speaking of white papers, posters. Yeah. So again, a little dovetail with conference attendance is we've got all of these people. We've got PhDs. We've got masters of engineering. We've got people in social work. We've got all these folks who are coming from kind of like a research background. And I feel like I know that we've got individuals like Dr. Savage, we've got Kevin Window, who's doing work in France. But I thought it would be really interesting to see if there is any interest at all in just doing some, either collecting some case studies for the purpose of white papers on specific prosthetic design, if there was some interest in trying to do some poster presentation work to say like this filament type is preferred for this type of prosthetic, or doing some comparative analysis of some individual users to say where compliance of 3D printed prosthetics is comparative to that of like traditionally fabricated prosthetic devices. Just like trying to find some topics, sourcing some ideas for what topics could be explored, and then seeing if seeing if we could either get some IRB approval and getting these published in some areas where industry experts are actually seeing it, so that we can, I don't know, I think elevate our standing a bit. I think
the timing is good here, Sarah. I'd say that's a good one for the newsletter. So let's get this call in there. Is that newsletter likely to go out like within the next week or so, do you think?
Sorry,
is, yeah.
I was muted. Yes. My goal is to send it out first thing next week.
So we could definitely include that call to action. I think it would be nice to talk some about these partnerships that are coming together and what we discussed here about the state assistive tech programs and how that's going to give us this opportunity to start printing other types of assistive tech. And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I would love to include that in the newsletter. I think if I could just follow up with Jeremy and Adam in an email, and if you have a specific statement that you would want me to include.
Perfect. Yes, that sounds great.
Yeah,
exactly. And then I don't know, do you think, Adam, I know we haven't launched it yet, but maybe it's worth, talking about the Trello initiative in the newsletter and how we're, stay tuned because we're working on this to make it easier for you to get involved in all these things we're doing.
Yep. I think dropping a teaser sounds like a good idea.
Okay. So Sarah, I don't know if maybe I give you a screenshot or something just to show as a teaser or something like that, but we can mention that this is coming soon.
I do want to say that if you mention any particular state agency in person, you'd better check with your liaison. You don't want them you don't want their supervisor to be blindsided by something that comes around the wrong way.
Sure. That's a good idea.
Sure. Okay. I will say we've already posted on the hub and our liaison from Illinois Assistive Tech has already joined in and enthusiastically shown support. So they're fully on board, but you're right for the wording of the newsletter, perhaps. I do want to point out one other thing real quick here that I had experimented in the hub with embedding Trello. So this is only visible to admins right now, but Adam, just so that you know, we can embed right within.
Oh, sweet.
One of the things that becomes immediately clear, I think you pointed this out, is we're going to need to watch out for just having this like almost infinite scrolling list.
Yeah, where we've got to consider when to split into multiple.
So we might want to think about multiple boards, and because each one can be embedded in a nice, square frame like this.
That's good though. What did you use for the API? Was that?
It's no API. It's just it's a straight embed, and I can show you how it works. But it's basically just whoops.
You can tell me, but it's going to go over my head.
Yeah, it's just a custom page that's set up with an iframe. So all you do is put in the Trello URL as an iframe, and it just pops it in. There's no code needed.
Oh, sure, like an iframe. Got it. Yeah, I definitely know what that is. Cool.
So anyway, that's making progress too. So yeah, I think we can include those things in the newsletter, Sarah, these new programs we're working on and the Trello. Do we have, I really don't know where Nush is at with this NIH repository. I thought I was kind of the main guy taking care of our catalog. So if I'm not getting updates, who is? Do you know, John?
I think Nush's tenure may have ended, but I think you should check. I think we need to have a conversation with Ian about this.
Okay. All right. So I got to follow up with Ian. Let me put that down for me because I really don't know where that ended up. All right. Okay. So Adam, anything else to add here?
I don't think so. Oh, no, just that I got in touch with Tainara, but I already mentioned that.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, as everyone can clearly see, it's just big thanks to Adam. He's been doing so much work.
There was the one, Dr. Thorson, Rune Thorson, who John got me in touch with. We spoke. He's the engineering researcher in Milan. We talked earlier this week. Jeremy, you were included in that response. That is also tying.
I wasn't sure what that was. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, John got me in touch with him. That is he's doing research. I believe it's affiliated with the EU. I don't know how their health system works, but it's better than ours. But he is doing research on assistive technology for individuals with disability. Wanted to know how we can kind of interface. I got him in touch with the e-NABLE chapters in Italy, and they've been in communication. Not sure if there's a whole lot more that we need to do right now, but I'll be meeting again with Rune to. We're really just seeing how we can share resources.
I can give a little background on that. He is an academic at a university. He initiated an initiative a few years ago and wrote some grants with some support from me and Alexander, who was attending their meetings on a regular basis, to create a big database, rather like the NIH thing. I don't know the status of the project, but I know that after they submitted that grant, and I think didn't get it, they're continuing to try to build, a database of assistive technologies, mostly European based. And by the way, these EU programs, there there are all of these EU programs, and they've built into the system the notion that you build these projects, they're 2-year projects, and then they end. And so the world is filled with EU projects that look beautiful on the day of release and then don't change a bit. So I think what we're doing will connect well with what they're doing. But in some ways, I think that we want to keep an eye on this issue of long-term functionality, which we're doing a good job of doing.
So I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but this looks like it was designed in about 1985.
Well, it's fundamentally a database.
Yeah,
Access,
that's pretty clear.
there may well
Okay.
be other ways of tapping into the data.
All right. Interesting. Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
that was the
Different
last
way
thing.
to-
Oh, wait.
Yeah, it is a pretty large repository of assistive devices. That's quite interesting. It would be nice if we could figure out a way to import without having to manually enter each one. We'll have to talk to the NIH folks about that.
There was that amputee coalition thing that you sent me, John. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, I think it was just looking forward to their next meeting. That is an organization managed by the amputation community, the amputee
Right.
coalition. It's the best place, and they have an annual convention. I think it's always in Phoenix. I went once. If you want to sort of, pardon the expression, shake hands with the amputee coalition and the doctors they work with, that's the place to go.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I had a couple of contacts there back in my clinical days. I actually haven't been able to get in touch with any of them. I hope they're okay. But they, yeah, I think all of those contacts are lost to me right now.
One
so
other, okay, so that's
sorry.
One other note on this. Adam, if having, I want to support what you're doing because you're doing something that we've wanted someone like you to do for a long time, and you are doing it. It's a miracle, but if there's a way in which some kind of an administrative assistant or someone can help you keep it together, we should explore that.
Got it.
Software and hardware. All right. Anyone else have anything for today? All right. Well, we certainly had our work cut out for us. Adam, I feel like we've got a lot of spinning plates, but I'm not quite clear on exactly what our next steps are to keep things moving forward. Do we have meetings coming up this week? How do we just keep things moving? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So I'll be reaching out to Brent Hollers about the repository, the treasure trove in Atlanta. This possibly apocryphal, legendary pile of hands sitting in a closet somewhere. I'm going to be, let's see, I've got meeting with the AT3 board later this month. I think I can handle that one. The AOTA conference, I've got that. I'm going to need to touch base with you in the next week to talk about business cards and printable toy paraphernalia. I'm going to be talking to Sarah about some collateral to publish in the newsletter. We're going to be, let's see, what else? I think that's it. Oh, and we're going to be. I guess we just need to get some meetings on the calendar. I'm going to be in Colorado for most of next week. But after that, if we can talk turkey about Trello, and getting that up to speed.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. John, you got your hand up?
Nope, not on purpose.
Oh, okay. All right, everyone. Have a great week. See you next time.
See ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.